It's my way, it's my way, it's my way.
Welcome back to Zan's Weapon Depot, the podcast where we dive into the details of cutting-edge military technology and its impact on the battlefield. I'm your host, Xanatos.
Today we will be diving into one of the most powerful and strategic elements of modern warfare, the SSBN, or Ballistic Nuclear Submarine. These formidable underwater vessels have not only reshaped naval warfare, but also played a pivotal role in solidifying the U.S. nuclear triad. SSBNs are nuclear-powered submarines designed to carry and launch up to 20 ballistic missiles armed with nuclear warheads. These submarines are essentially the backbone of the second strike capability of the U.S. nuclear arsenal. If a nuclear war were to occur, SSBNs can launch retaliatory strikes even if the land-based missile silos and strategic bombers are destroyed in a first strike. This makes them a critical deterrent against nuclear aggression. The concept of SSBNs was born during the height of the Cold War. The United States needed a method to ensure that it could strike back if attacked by the Soviet Union. Traditional land-based missiles and bombers, while powerful, were vulnerable to preemptive strikes. The ocean, however, provided perfect hiding place for nuclear missiles. The stealthy nature of submarines meant that they could be undetected, patrolling vast stretches of the world's oceans while holding power to unleash devastating retaliation. The first SSBN was the USS George Washington, SSBN 598. It was commissioned in 1959. This was a game-changer for the U.S. Navy, marking the beginning of an era where submarine-based nuclear deterrence became a cornerstone of U.S. military strategy. With the ability to launch missiles from beneath the ocean's surface, SSBNs rendered any potential adversary's attempts at surprise nuclear attack much more complicated and risky. Unlike surface ships, SSBNs are virtually undetectable when submerged. This stealth allows them to operate anywhere in the world's oceans, avoiding detection by enemy forces. Their ability to remain hidden for extended periods of time made them a vital asset in strategic deterrence, reducing the risk of interception. The introduction of SSBNs meant that no nation could be certain of a successful nuclear first strike. As part of the U.S. nuclear triad, these submarines ensured that the United States could always retaliate with devastating force, even after taking a massive attack. With SSBNs patrolling the world's oceans, the U.S. was able to project power globally. The mere presence of these submarines in international waters sent a powerful message to potential adversaries about the United States' commitment to nuclear deterrence. The SSBN fleet gave way to the U.S. Navy and their ability to rapidly respond to any crisis anywhere in the world. Today, the U.S. Navy's SSBN fleet is primarily made up of Ohio-class submarines, which have been in service since the 1980s. These submarines are armed with the Trident II D5 missiles. Each is capable of carrying multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, or MIRVs, further increasing their destructive power and flexibility. Looking ahead, the U.S. Navy is in the process of replacing the Ohio-class submarines with the Columbia-class SSBNs, which are set to enter service in the early 2030s. These new submarines will carry the same Trident II missiles, but with enhanced stealth, survivability, and technological upgrades. The SSBN submarine has transformed naval warfare and played a key role in ensuring the credibility of the U.S. nuclear deterrent by providing a secure second strike capability. These submarines have contributed immensely to global stability, making nuclear war less likely by ensuring that no nation could risk attacking the U.S. with impunity. As part of the U.S. nuclear triad, SSBNs continue to serve as a cornerstone of national defense, ensuring peace through strength and deterrence. That's all the time that we have for today's episode of Zan's Weapon Depot. We've seen how the SSBN reshaped naval warfare and bolstered the nuclear triad. It's an enduring legacy of strategic power and global security. Until next time, stay safe, keep your weapons sharp and your knowledge sharper. Semper Fi.
Today we are going to be talking about an iconic aircraft that has been a cornerstone of the U.S. military for decades, the B-52 Stratofortress. Now this might sound like a bit of a throwback, considering it first flew back in 1952, but don't be fooled. The B-52 isn't just a relic of the Cold War era. It's very much a critical piece of today's military puzzle, especially when it comes to the U.S. nuclear triad.
We dare not tempt them with weakness, for only when our arms are sufficient beyond doubt can we be certain beyond doubt that they will never be employed.
Meanwhile,
In fact, the Stratofortress is still in active service and will likely remain as such with the U.S. Air Force for many years to come. The B-52 Stratofortress was developed during the Cold War. In fact, it was conceived as a long-range strategic bomber designed to carry both conventional and nuclear bombs. The B-52 was a response to the increasing need for a weapon that could penetrate Soviet air defenses and strike deep into the enemy territory with devastating power. The aircraft was built to carry a massive payload, with the capacity to drop up to 70,000 pounds of conventional and nuclear bombs. It could fly at high altitudes and cover enormous distances, an essential quality when your enemy is over 8,000 miles away. With a range of more than 8,000 miles, the B-52 could launch a nuclear strike and return safely from practically anywhere in the world. What's really fascinating, though, is the sheer endurance of the aircraft. Despite the arrival of newer bomber designs and advancements in technology, the B-52 is still with us today. It's been upgraded over time with modern avionics, precision weapon systems, and more efficient engines, which have allowed it to remain relevant and effective for more than 70 years. The B-52 has managed to stay in the game for so long because of her versatility. The B-52 is not just a nuclear bomber. It can also deliver a wide variety of conventional payloads, everything from precision-guided munitions and anti-ship missiles. This adaptability has made the B-52 invaluable in conflicts ranging from the Vietnam War to Desert Storm to even the more recent operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. But when it comes to its most crucial role, it is tied to something much bigger, the U.S. nuclear triad.
Innovation is one of the hallmarks of our service. It's in our DNA. From propellers to jets to rockets, electronic jamming, communication satellites, precision-guided munitions. The list goes on and on because the future of U.S. national security depends on our ability to rapidly innovate and to be at the cutting edge of science.
So what exactly is the triad? The nuclear triad refers to the three distinct components of the U.S. nuclear arsenal: the land-based ICBMs, the nuclear-powered submarines, or SSBNs, that we covered last week, and the strategic bombers like the B-52. Each of these components serves a unique purpose in ensuring that the United States maintains a credible deterrence against nuclear attack. If one leg of the triad were to be taken out in a first strike scenario, the United States would still have two other platforms capable of retaliating. This redundancy is key to the concept of mutually assured destruction, which has been the backbone of our nuclear strategy since the Cold War. The B-52, as part of the triad, is the flexible leg. While ICBMs are constant and on alert at all times, and submarines are stealthy, lurking beneath the oceans, the B-52 offers the ability to deploy both conventional and nuclear weapons, and it can be launched with little notice, providing a visible symbol of U.S. power. The flexibility of the B-52 allows it to operate in a variety of scenarios, from a conventional conflict to the potential delivery of a retaliatory nuclear strike in the case of an existential threat. Importantly, these bombers are often kept in the air and on airborne alert missions that allow them to be ready to strike at a moment's notice. It's this kind of preparedness that has made the B-52 such a vital asset. The B-52's role is more than just deterrence. It's about flexibility and in crisis management. Today, even as nuclear technology has evolved and new strategic concepts have emerged, the B-52 still serves as an essential element of the triad's credibility. It's one of the few platforms capable of being immediately deployed into a crisis and sending a clear signal of U.S. intent and capability. And that's where the B-52's psychological impact comes in. Think about it. It's massive and it's intimidating, and it's capable of delivering a very powerful punch. Just the mere presence of a B-52 over the horizon sends a message to adversaries that the U.S. has options, it has reach, and it has the will to use them if necessary. This strategic visibility plays a role in deterrence, which is at the very heart of our U.S. nuclear posture. And yet, despite all of this, The B-52 remains a symbol of the complexity of modern warfare. It is an aircraft that represents both the horrors of nuclear war and the necessity to prevent such a war from ever happening. Its role in the Triad has been one of maintaining peace, ironically through the threat of its devastating power. To wrap it all up, the B-52 Stratofortress is much more than just an old bomber. It's a living, breathing example of the military and a cornerstone of our might. For over 70 years, the B-52 has proven itself adaptable, reliable, and most importantly, indispensable to the U.S. defense strategy. It's a legacy of power, deterrence, and strategic flexibility that has shaped how the U.S. approaches global security, and it is likely to continue doing so for many years to come. That is all the time that we have for today's episode of Zan's Weapon Depot. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and remember, the weapons of the past are the lessons of our future. Semper Fi.
When most people think of nuclear weapons, they often picture warheads dropped from bombers or fired from submarines. But the Minuteman III is unique. It's part of the strategic nuclear triad that forms the backbone of the U.S. military nuclear deterrent. Today I'm going to walk you through the history, role, and the future of the LGM-30 Gulf and why it's still relevant in the 21st century. Let's start with a little history. The Minuteman missile program began in the late 1950s during the Cold War. At the time, the U.S. was developing ways to counter the Soviet Union's nuclear threat, and ballistic missiles were seen as faster, more reliable alternative to heavy bombers the U.S. had been using. The Minuteman I was the first solid-fuel ICBM to be developed, and it was designed to be launched from underground silos. The Minuteman III, which is the version in service today, was first deployed in the 1970s as an upgrade to its predecessors. Fast forward to today, the Minuteman III remains a critical component of the U.S. strategic nuclear deterrent. The missile itself is designed to carry multiple warheads, each capable of striking different targets with pinpoint accuracy. These warheads are equipped with multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, or MIRVs, which are the key to the missile's effectiveness. Now, why does this matter in the context of the nuclear triad? As we have discussed, the nuclear triad consists of three components: land-based ICBMs, submarine-launched ballistic missiles, and strategic bombers. The idea behind the triad is the redundancy and survivability of the system. If one leg of the triad were to be attacked or neutralized, the other two will still be able to respond effectively. The Minuteman III played a crucial role in the land-based leg. Land-based ICBMs such as the Minuteman III are considered one of the most secure forms of nuclear deterrence. They are housed in hardened, underground silos that are difficult to target or destroy. Because they are land-based, they offer a rapid response time, ensuring that a retaliatory strike can be launched almost immediately if necessary. This promptness is key to the strategy of mutually assured destruction, which has been the cornerstone of our nuclear policy for decades. It's not just about having a fast response, however. The Minuteman III, despite being over 50 years old in its current form, has been continuously modernized and upgraded to remain effective. From new guidance systems to enhanced security features, the U.S. Air Force has ensured that these missiles remain a credible deterrent. In fact, just last year, the Air Force began upgrading its Minuteman III missiles with new components as part of the Ground-Based Strategic Deterrent Program, or GBSD. This will eventually replace the Minuteman III, ensuring that the land-based leg of the triad remains relevant well into the future. Let's talk about the impact of the Minuteman III's presence on global security. The very existence of these missiles, along with the strategic and diplomatic stability that they help maintain, has played a significant role in preventing direct conflicts between nuclear-armed nations. The concept of nuclear deterrence rests on the idea that if two countries both have the ability to retaliate with devastating force, neither side will risk initiating an attack in the first place. It's a high-stakes form of chess, but it has kept the peace between the superpowers for decades. That said, the U.S. is moving towards the next generation of ICBMs, which will likely be faster, more secure, and even more survivable than their predecessors. The importance of the Minuteman III cannot be overstated, as it has been the foundation upon which the U.S. has built its strategic deterrence. But as technology advances, the role of this weapon, and the nuclear triad as a whole, will continue to evolve. That's all the time that we have for today's episode. We covered the history, the role, and the future of the Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile and its place in the U.S. nuclear triad. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to like and subscribe to Zan's Weapon Depot. Until next time, stay curious, stay frosty. Semper Fi.